What is up, everybody? This is Brad, and I've got a new slab right here that I just picked up. I think is pretty cool. And we're going to talk about Babe Ruth today, the great Bambino. So let me go ahead and share this with you right here. Look at this beautiful cover from 1927 of Babe Ruth, the Sultan of SWAT. So this is Strength Magazine and it's a CGC 2.5. This copy is very beat up. It's got stains, it's got rips and tears and spine issues, and it looks exactly like a magazine probably should look if it's 97 years old, which this one is. So I didn't buy this raw like I do with probably 90 to 95% of my slabs. I picked this one up on eBay already graded. I'd been looking for a nice early Babe Ruth magazine cover to add to my collection because I didn't have one. And it got me thinking that this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about Babe Ruth covers. And that's what we're going to do in this video. I'm not going to spend this whole video just talking about this one magazine. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've compiled a list of all of the what I would consider to be most collectible Babe Ruth covers would be, and we're going to go through them and we're going to talk about them because Babe Ruth is one of those, legendary athletes that is not cut and dry when it comes to most collectible magazine, and that's because his playing career significantly precedes Sports Illustrated, right? The first SI issue, at least the Time Inc. version of Sports Illustrated came out in 1954, and Babe Ruth was done playing by the mid 30s. So that's where you have to start looking at alternative publications and it just kind of gets interesting looking at the different type of covers. So I've seen this one before, and this to me has been one of the most aesthetically cool Babe Ruth covers. Now it is an illustration. I'm not always crazy about the illustration covers over the actual photos, but then again, it's from the 1920s, so a lot of the early covers of Babe Ruth are illustrations. Strength Magazine at the top it says "Care of the Teeth." And then it says Babe Ruth versus Gehrig, building up exercises for women if you had a barbell. Uh, pretty interesting. This strikes me as not a primarily sports magazine, but more of strength, exercise, bodybuilding. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, love this. 1927, and this is now my one Babe Ruth magazine in my collection. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen and let's talk about some of these Babe Ruth magazine covers that are worth collecting. All right, so, and before we do that, let's actually talk about a little bit more about who Babe Ruth was. Okay, so Babe Ruth played from 1914 to 1935. I'm going to go ahead and turn my face off, get that out of the picture. From 1914 to 1935, so that's 22 seasons he played. And for the first four of those seasons, as many of you know, he was primarily a pitcher. And so he's the all-time leader in WAR, wins above replacement, slugging percentage, and OPS. He's now third all-time in home runs, only behind Hank Aaron and Barry Bonds. And he's also third all-time in RBIs, I believe behind Hank Aaron and Albert Pujols, although I'd have to double check that one. So pretty amazing. He hit 714 career home runs, even though like I said, his first four seasons were primarily as a pitcher, and also, the no one was hitting home runs back then. I think I should have looked this up before the video, but I want to say the single season record for home runs before Babe set it was like not. I think it was less than 20. I don't even think anyone had hit more than 20 home runs in a season. And then he started cranking out 50, 60 in a season, insane totals compared to his era. And a lot of times people today may be like, "Oh, Babe Ruth, fat, ate hot dogs. He wouldn't be anything in today's game." And maybe that's true, maybe that's not. I really have no idea. But whenever you compare whenever you compare Babe Ruth to his competition that he was playing at the time, he might be the most dominant athlete I've ever seen as far as just how staggering his numbers were compared to everyone else that he competed against. So anyway, let's jump in. I first want to start off with some of these basic covers. These are not necessarily what I would consider to be the most collectible covers, but he has been on several SI covers with Sports Illustrated. The first one didn't come till 1974. Like I said, Sports Illustrated with Time Inc. began in 1954, but that was 20 years after his playing career was over. So 1974, he had this Sports Illustrated cover, which I do think is a fairly collectible cover. I think it's a pretty cool cover here. The legend comes to life. He was on another cover here in 1998. I wouldn't say this one's overly collectible, just maybe somewhat. This cover is pretty cool. Also in 1998, what's the best sports year ever? Alongside Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan. Here was 2006 cover, a team for all time, had a lot of legends on there. He was one of them. And then here was a pretty recent cover in 2020. Um, Lessons from the Hub of History. So he has been on, what was it? I think 5 Sports Illustrated covers, but none of them, I would say, are ultra collectible because they weren't during his playing days. And usually when it comes to magazines or even sports cards, the cards that come out or the magazine covers that come out during their playing career are going to be the ones that are a little bit more collectible and potentially valuable. He did also have a pretty key sport magazine cover. You know, a lot of people look at Sport magazine as kind of the second alternative behind Sports Illustrated. This was in 1948, so preceded his Sports Illustrated covers by a lot, actually preceded Sports Illustrated, period. And then he also had this really nice Life magazine cover where he's in the background with Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. You know, they were challenging his home run record of 60, which of course Roger Maris would go on to break in 1961, this same year that this magazine cover came out. Something else I thought was interesting as I was going through all these magazine covers is, you know, I'm talking about how Sports Illustrated wasn't around whenever Babe Ruth was playing. Sport Magazine wasn't around whenever Babe Ruth was playing. But you know what was? And that was Time Magazine. Time Magazine was already out. You know, it started in the early 20s, and they did have several baseball covers during or around Babe Ruth's career. Now, he was on a Time Magazine cover in 1976, which you can see there in the bottom right corner, but none during his playing days, even though they had a cover in 1925 of George Sisler, 1928 Rogers Hornsby, and then these last few were at the tail end or right after Babe Ruth's career, but Dizzy Dean, Mickey Cochran, Joe DiMaggio, Carl Hubble, and Lou Gehrig were all on Time Magazine covers in 1935 or 1936. So just kind of interesting to me that, you know, if Time Magazine was going to put a baseball player on the cover at that time, Babe Ruth was never one, because everything that I've ever seen and learned is that he was an absolute larger-than-life celebrity during his playing career. So anyway, let's actually look at some of these covers from his playing career that you know, could potentially be some of his most collectible covers. Now here's a Sporting Life cover from 1916, very early in his career. He was strictly a pitcher, and this actually was sold on Heritage recently in 2024 and sold for $9,900 ungraded. I'm not sure what the dimensions are, so I'm not even sure if it could be graded by CGC right now. But it was labeled in the Heritage listing as Babe Ruth's first ever magazine cover. I don't know for sure if that's accurate. I've definitely seen Heritage be wrong on some of their descriptions. And, you know, sometimes with magazines, there can be such niche publications or regional publications that it can often be hard to confirm what the actual first cover was, especially when you're going back over 100 years like we are in this case. But once again, this is really early in his career, and it's very possible that this was his first ever magazine cover. Here is one from so now that's the only one I could really find from the 1910s. And after that, what we're gonna look at is we're gonna look at some of his best covers from the 1920s, because I think those are some of his most collectible covers. There was a lot towards the tail end of his career in the 30s. We're not going to look at any of those, but let's look at the 1920s. I think any nice Babe Ruth cover from the 1920s has a lot of collectability, and that's why I picked up the one that I picked up. So this is from 1920, and this is D&M Sporting Goods catalog. You can see it's miniature size. This one was graded by CGC. It's a 3.0 restored grade, and this one sold on, I believe, Heritage for a pretty good amount, maybe 4,000. I should have put the price on here. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it did sell for a good number. What I've done with these covers from the 1920s is I've kind of put my own grade on them on how collectible I think the magazine is based on its cover appeal. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. It's a pretty cool image of Babe Ruth seemingly pitching. The one thing that brings this one down for me is that it's the miniature size. But, you know, I do like that it's really, really early back from 1920. Here's another 1920 cover. You're going to see this publication pop up multiple times. Babe Ruth has several covers on Midweek Pictorial magazine, and this was the first one I can find from 1920, and it's a really nice shot, really nice cover shot of Babe holding the bat, and I give this one a 9 out of 10. I would definitely rank this as one of his most collectible covers. Here's a 1921 cover. This is Asahi Sports. It looks to me like it's probably Japanese. I have seen a couple other Asahi Sports magazines just in my browsing, but this is a nice little Babe Ruth cover. Gave this one a 6 out of 10. It's okay. You know, once again, I think just the fact that it's maybe like a, you know, foreign publication, not really sure what all it's saying on the cover. Decent cover shot there of Babe Ruth. Looks like maybe he just popped up, looking straight up in the sky after his backswing, but pretty cool 1921 cover. Here's another 1921. I think this one is ultra collectible. This picture is of a totally beat up copy that actually just sold not too long ago that had been autographed. That's pretty amazing, but you can see that they taped the spine probably to keep it from falling apart. And Who's Who in Baseball. That's a pretty well-known publication that ran for many, many years. And nice cover shot. I give this one a 9 out of 10. Another 1921 cover, Agents and MO Magazine. Never heard of this before. This is October 1921, and it says Tom Mix, Fox star, greets Babe Ruth at Polo Grounds, New York. I don't know who Tom Mix is, but I give this cover shot a 5 out of 10. Here's another 1921 cover, and again, this is midweek pictorial. You got Babe Ruth's face right there in the middle of the ball. Pretty cool. Give this one a 7 out of 10. Here's another Strength magazine cover. So this is the same publication that, you know, I picked up my copy. My copy is 1927. So this appears to be Babe Ruth's first Strength magazine cover appearance from 1921. I think this is a really, really cool cover. I think the Strength publication just kind of sounds and looks cool. Nice headline here, Babe Ruth, the SWAT King, how he does it. Nice photo image there. And I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. 1921. This one's interesting. Popular Science Monthly. Babe Ruth's home run secrets solved by science. You got Babe Ruth's bat tied to some sort of, I don't know, invention, contraption, and you know, it's a sketch there of a almost Frankenstein looking Babe Ruth. Give this one a 5 out of 10. Definitely unique, not the most appealing visually cover. 1922, another midweek pictorial. Actually got two shots of Babe Ruth on this cover, and I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. Here is a cool sport. This is not Sport Magazine as we know it. You know, Sport Magazine as we know it. I believe the first issue for that was 1946 with Joe DiMaggio on the cover. But as you may know with Sports Illustrated, not uncommon for there to be multiple publishers using the same magazine title over the years. You know, Sports Illustrated, for example, was used two other times before Time Inc. launched it in 1954. It had a run in the 40s with Dell Sports, and it had a run in the 30s sharing with the American Golfer. And so that might be the issue here. This says Sport the magazine for sports spectators. This was November 1922. Decent shot here. It looks like an illustration, what happened to the Babe, and I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. Here we've got another midweek pictorial. This might even be the same image as what we saw a couple covers ago. Let me see here. Okay, it looks like it's slightly different, but it's the same pose. Looks like he's looking straight up in his backswing. Um, I don't know, maybe it is the same, but and just it's got the full background. But anyway, I think this is a nice looking shot from 1923. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Here is, from what I could find, his first baseball magazine cover. 1923, Babe Ruth unanimously voted the most valuable star of the American League. Babe Ruth actually only won one MVP in his entire career, and that's because, well, for part of his career, they hadn't even started giving out MVPs yet. And then whenever they did, this might have been the first year that they even awarded MVPs, but whenever they did, you were only allowed to win it once. So Babe Ruth realistically would have won a good number of MVPs, but was limited to one due to the rules at the time. And Baseball Magazine, another well-known publication that ran for many, many years. So that's what makes this one cool. Would be cooler if it was an actual, game action shot of him with the bat or in the field or whatever. Instead, he's shaking hands of Colonel Rupert, president and sole owner of the New York Yankees. Actually, kind of funny that he's on there because that Who's Who baseball magazine that I showed earlier, this one right here that's autographed, I remember that when this one was sold recently, it actually came from the estate of Colonel Rupert, the former owner of the Yankees. So interesting little tidbit there. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10 on the cover appeal. Wish it had been an in-action shot. Another 1923 cover, and again, it's midweek pictorial. I told you he's on a lot of these. I think this cover is kind of cool because it doesn't even look like Babe Ruth. Like I said earlier, we kind of think of Babe Ruth as the thick, overweight guy, and here he looks almost, agile. He looks speedy. Looks like he's, busting it out of the box, about to run out a triple or something like that. But I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. You can't see his face. I think that's the detractor here. And here is jumping to 1926, a really beautiful shot of the Babe on this one. Again, it's midweek pictorial, and I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Another 1926 cover, and again, it's Baseball Magazine. He's sharing the cover with Rogers Hornsby from My Cardinals, and this image is just okay, and I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Here's an interesting one, Liberty Boy Salesman. I do think that the unique, one-off magazines that maybe we've never heard of, I just think those are cool. Midweek Pictorial, we're seeing several of. We know Baseball Magazine, we know Who's Who in Magazine, we know Sport Magazine, but, then you come up with a Liberty Boy Salesman, and I think those are pretty neat. This probably wasn't an ultra popular publication with all that many copies printed, and who knows how many copies are still around today. Putting his arm over the shoulder of a little boy, he was an absolute icon to little boys, and so 6 out of 10 on this cover. Here's another sport magazine. I'm assuming this is the same sport magazine that we saw earlier. This is 1927, and again, it's an illustration, so it's okay, but it's a pretty cool looking illustration, and I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 from 1927. Here's the cover that I picked up, 1927 Strength Magazine. Like I said, I absolutely love this one. I've had my eyes on this one for a long time. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I just think it looks really cool, especially with that red background. And like I said, I think the Strength Magazine is really cool. I love the two Strength Magazine covers that Babe Ruth is on. That one that was earlier from, I think it was 1921. Definitely would rank that one ahead of this one because it is earlier, but I think they're both very cool. Here's another 1927 magazine cover. This is Police Gazette, the National Police Gazette. What's it say? The leading illustrated sporting journal in the world. And I've seen some Police Gazette, some other Police Gazette covers over the years, but this one's pretty cool. Give it an 8 out of 10. Another midweek pictorial cover from 1927. Not too impressed with this one. Who's that? Simon Birch on the left. This is a 5 out of 10 for me. And then we're going to jump to 1929. Here's another cool, kind of random publication, The Arena. Babe Ruth, Sultan of SWAT. Give this one a 6 out of 10. Here's another unique one, The Youth's Companion. And from 1921, I'll give that a 6 out of 10. And so here you go. That was pretty much the run of, somewhat interesting Babe Ruth covers I could find from the 1920s. And so what I've done here is I've gone ahead and ranked what I would consider to be the top 5 most collectible Babe Ruth covers. Like I said, this is not a situation where it's cut and dry. Mickey Mantle, pretty easy to identify that his first Sports Illustrated cover is his most collectible. But Babe Ruth, that's different. And so, after going through some of these and looking at some of these covers, here is kind of a rough attempt at my list of the top 5 most collectible Babe Ruth covers. I think you'd have to put the Sporting Life magazine from 1916 at number 1, just because that does appear to be his first ever cover. And then after that, I'm looking at not only chronological order as far as what's the oldest, but also of those really, really old ones, which ones have the best cover shots. So I'm going to put that midweek pictorial from 1920 at number 2, because that seemed to be like his second, one of his earliest magazine covers, and it's a nice shot. The Who's Who in Baseball from 1921, I'm gonna put that at number 3. That Strength magazine cover from 1921, I love that one. I'll put that one at number 4, and then we'll go with the midweek pictorial from 1923, rounding it out at number 5. Okay, that's it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinion is on the most collectible Babe Ruth covers, what you think about this pickup that I got right here. And, as always, if you've not yet done so, please subscribe. I appreciate likes and comments. And until the next video, see you next time.